book of Numbers it is writ.
All the way back in the book of Numbers, it says, you can be sure that your sin will find you out.
Today we're diving into the book of Numbers, and no, it's not a math lesson, I promise. No calculators required. This is the fourth book in the Hebrew Bible, also part of the Torah. And while the title might sound like it's all about counting, there's actually so much more going on. This book is wild. I mean, it's got everything. Censuses, rebellions, miracles, talking animals, fiery serpents, and a whole lot of wandering. If you're into road trip stories with divine detours and life lessons baked in, this one's for you. Let's take a look at what Numbers is really all about, why it matters, what we can learn, and yeah, where that talking donkey fits in. So the book of Numbers picks up right after the Israelites have received the law at Mount Sinai. They've been rescued from Egypt, had a moment with God at Sinai, and now it's time to head towards the Promised Land. You'd think this would be a short hike with some pit stops, right? Wrong. It turns into a 38-year desert marathon. And the name Numbers? That comes from the censuses. There are two big head counts in the book. One at the beginning and one towards the end. But in Hebrew, the book's title is Midbar, which means in the wilderness. And honestly, that title nails it better, because the wilderness is where all the action, drama, and deep soul work happens. This isn't just a travel log from Sinai to Moab. This is a spiritual journey. And like any good journey, there are lessons, stumbles, and those moments when you're yelling at the GPS, or in this case, Moses. We're talking about a generation that started out as slaves, trying to become free people who actually trust God. But as we'll see, that's easier said than done. Here's how it all breaks down. The Exodus journey continues. Think of Numbers as season 2 of the Exodus saga. The people are on the move. They're following God in the form of a cloud by day and fire by night. Divine GPS. But like most road trips, it doesn't go smoothly. There's a lot of grumbling. A lot of grumbling. The covenant at Sinai. The book starts at Sinai, where God makes a big covenant with his people. Basically, I'll be your God, you be my people. But the Israelites are, well, a bit like toddlers on a sugar crash. They rebel, they doubt, they complain about the food constantly. And yet, God stays committed. That's huge. He doesn't give up on them, even when they're ready to throw in the towel. Counting heads, the censuses. Twice God tells Moses to take a census. The first one is kind of like forming a battle-ready army. The second one, near the end, is a whole new generation. Because, spoiler alert, the original crew doesn't make it into the Promised Land. Their kids do. It's symbolic. It's like God saying, we're starting fresh, a new generation with a new heart. Laws, laws, laws. You'll find all kinds of ordinances sprinkled through Numbers about ritual purity, inheritance, and daily life. These laws weren't random. They helped shape a people who had no idea how to be a nation, much less one that reflected God's holiness. It's like God saying, you're not just wandering, you're becoming. Let's talk rebellion, because it happens a lot. There's the time they complain about the food, again, and God sends quail, but also a plague. Or when they whine about the lack of water, and Moses strikes a rock instead of speaking to it like God told him. Oh, and remember that talking donkey? That's from the story of Balaam, a prophet for hire who's hired to curse Israel. But God turns the whole thing around. Balaam ends up blessing them instead. And when Balaam doesn't listen, God speaks through his donkey. Imagine your dog telling you off when you're out of line. Yeah, that happened. Then there's Korah's rebellion. He and his crew challenged Moses' leadership, and the ground literally opens up and swallows them. Yikes. But don't miss this. Even with all the punishment, God never completely abandons his people. His mercy shows up over and over. This is my favorite part. Despite all the failures, whining, and full-on mutiny, God stays faithful. He protects them. He feeds them. He heals them. And he even makes a bronze snake so that when they're bitten by venomous snakes, because yes, that happened, they can just look up and be healed. It's like grace wrapped in a strange packaging. They mess up, and yet God still provides. Sound familiar? In your life? It sure does in mine. That's a big takeaway. Even when we blow it, God doesn't bail. He may correct us, sometimes harshly, but he stays. By the end of Numbers, the Israelites are camped right outside of Canaan, the Promised Land. They're so close. But it's a new generation now. The old one didn't make it because of their fear and disobedience. The lesson? Sometimes fear can keep us from stepping into what God's prepared for us. Amen. The Promised Land was always there. They just needed to trust and obey. Simple, but not easy. Okay, so what do censuses, plagues, and wandering people in tents have to do with us? A lot, actually. We all go through our own wilderness seasons, times where things feel dry, directionless, or even hopeless. But those are often the places where God shapes us the most, where He teaches us to trust Him, not just when things are good, but when everything's a mess. Also, Numbers reminds us that rebellion has consequences, but grace always has the last word. So next time someone says, "Oh, the book of Numbers? Boring," you can just laugh, because now you know better. It's not just about counting people. It's about learning how to be people, God's people, with all our flaws, fears, and faith struggles. Whether you're wandering, waiting, or wondering what's next, Numbers says, God's not done. Keep on riding. Keep on walking. Thanks for hanging out with me for this dive into Numbers. Until next time, keep the faith, keep your eyes on the road, and don't forget, when even in the wilderness, God's got you. Until next time, Shalom.